Good morning. Are we working? We have coffee. We don't have viewers. Normally it takes a little while for people to be notified or for it to come up, so let's get ourselves sorted. Hey, there we go. I don't know why it takes so long on YouTube. It takes about a minute for people to appear. On Instagram it takes about a second. Hey, good morning, Robin. How long ago did you guys see that we were live? Out of curiosity. Not that it's particularly important, I'm just kind of curious about the differences between the platforms because I do these on Instagram and people appear very, very quickly. Anyway, you can see the subject of today's video. Good morning, Jim. Cool. Well, I mean, like I said, not that it's massively important either way. Hey, we're very, very happy to do some stuff for you Australasians. Okay, so let's get into things. We have been, let's move the one from Zamikito over. Just going to sort out my lighting situation. Sorry if it makes some unhelpful sounds. There we go. Anyone who's ever paid on stream will appreciate just how annoying this stuff is. Hopefully our position is good. I think that will have to do. Cult are still doing classes, yes, not super regularly, but they have classes up currently on their website last time I checked. Where did you send the message? They've got Ben now helps them with stuff like that, so if you remind me as I'm saying goodbye at the end of the stream, I will send him a message and then I will know an answer for the next time that I'm... Okay, no worries. I'll do my best to find out for you. Ah, okay, cool. Well, maybe we can get an answer to that question next stream for you. Right, we have how to stipple up on the screen. We've got two parts of Necron Vehicle, which is one of my favorite pieces to stipple, so let's crack on. We have been doing this, by the way. This has been the result of previous ones. I put some time into his guts yesterday. I also did a little bit more time on the bottom of this leg because the foot was neglected, and it's looking pretty cool, so really pleased with that. These are not, especially due to the quality that lives come out at, I don't really think of these as future content, so do make the most of me being live here. If you want to ask a question that's off topic, even if it needs an example, there's a good chance I'll be able to show you. I'm here to talk about mini color and our paints, but I can answer questions on any subject really. I do, however, I definitely need to find a dampening pad because this will not work without one. Okay, just I'm going to go hunting on my desk. We'll see what we can find. Dangers of traveling with paints for work. Please. All right, we have a dampening pad. Good. Okay. Right. So, don't know if that shows up. There's a little bit of a tuft in my dampening pad. Right. I am actually going to have to go and change my painting water at some point because it's too dirty to be doing this with safely. But I'll take you through the principles first. The reason my water is dirty is I wanted to show this to you because I think this is a really good reason that if you're trying to improve your painting, you should paint chaos models. So there's a horrible gap on the Great Unclean one here. There's not quite as bad one here if you've got the horns because the horns hide it. But there's an awful gap that runs across here and up here. It's like a T-junction gap. And then there's also a little bit of a gap here in his neck fold. And I just filled it with agrellan earth yesterday. And it looks amazing. Tom, they are on the Kickstarter, but I can try and remember them for you. I can also compare them to another bottle. So they're a little bit stubbier. I'm sure you're aware of AK's dimensions. They are a tiny bit wider. I believe they are 27 mil wide. Presumably this is the dimension that you're the most after. I think these are 25 and these are 27. And that's accounting for them bulging a little bit because some bulge out more in the middle when they've got paint in and when the weather's warm. If you're making custom racks, which I presume that question is for. Right, I'm just going to quickly go and get some water that doesn't have yesterday's texture paint in it. I'll be back shortly. No worries. If you guys can think of some questions for me, just give me 30 seconds. All right, we are clean enough. Okay. Well, let's get cracking. Please do keep your questions coming all the way through the stream. It's meant to be educational, and obviously I have some paints to sell. That's part of the reason to be here. But one of the best ways to sell them is to help you increase your knowledge and show you stuff using them. So every question is valid. None are too silly. And hopefully by the end of this, you'll see that, especially the technique that I'm about to show, which is stippling and dry brushing, it's not as complex as you think. Good morning, Daryl. Right, first things first, to talk a little bit about the brushes that I am using today. So we have here, spot the difference. Hopefully that's coming out quite clearly. It looks like it's pretty good. Hi, Sapik. It looks like it's pretty good on camera. Can anyone guess what the difference between these two brushes is? I don't know how long the delay is. I never know how long the delay is. Hi, Steve. So I'll give you a good look at those from the end too. Good guess, Robin. Yeah, and usage. Fantastic. Yeah, so this is 2 years old. I know this is more than 2 years because it's actually got slightly bashed ferrule. This is a factory reject. It's slightly oval rather than round, and we're pretty fussy with our QC. But however, this is a completely functioning brush. It just cosmetically wasn't up to scratch, so I took this one. And as you can see, I would challenge any of you to have a brush that was over 2 years old and was this clean at the bottom. And for me, personally, this is an extremely important part of both doing very high quality dry brushing and stippling. And I definitely regard myself as capable of doing high quality dry brushing and stippling. It's probably the bit I'm the most confident and competent in the hobby in comparison to everyone else, at least. And also looking after it. So we're not going to get paint down to the bottom. That means that we're going to be very, very careful in loading the brush. It's all about loading the brush carefully and with consideration. And something amazing, if I can show this, even though this is an older brush, it should have, it's just so clean. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But it should have a stop line where the paint has never been. I never, well, I can stipple with standard brushes, and I do, but let me show you something. Where's my brush gone? Okay. So very often when people are stippling, they're stippling with something like this. This is one of our smallest brushes. It's just a lot slower. So that's the main reason I don't. I can stipple with normal brushes, but I would still start stippling with dry brushes. It doesn't have to be extra large. It could be a medium or a medium plus. So also, even if I'm doing a Space Marine, I'm still going to choose to start my stippling at least with something like this. And he was started with this. Even my really high quality stuff, got a very good example here actually. He was started stippling with the medium plus, which is a size, it's half a size bigger than this brush here, and my favorite brush for infantry. Good question. Keep the questions coming. I'm going to rock on. I'll explain everything I'm doing. If I'm going over anything too fast or if I'm assuming something, please do let me know and I'll do my best job to explain it really clearly for you. Okay, so, right. My water, I can't fit everything I want in this format or layout, so we're just going to have to, we'll have to make do to a certain degree. What we're going to do though is we're going to take 1 drop of water off the back of the brush, no worries. 1 drop of water goes in there. 1 drop of water. That's what we start with. And we're just going to press it in with our finger. You have to press it in with your finger first, and you have to press it in firmly. Oh, I need to clean out the bottom of this. This is a heavily used one. You can see crap's fallen through it. That's just all bits of paint and stuff. There we go. All right. Now, when I press my brush into this, and this is definitely going to struggle to be picked up on stream, little dots of water are going to appear on my palette. That's how much. If we've got a great big blob of water appearing, that is too much. What's this question? Jim, it's not hard. It's just it's a very slow and precise way, which is why incredible painters use it to do incredible things at Golden Demon. It's just different with other brushes. You can be very specific with it. Zenithal. So you're asking whether there's a benefit to do a dry brush version of a Zenithal first. That absolutely is. All of your colors will be brighter if they're going over white. So it's extremely useful. And you could definitely do it on something like a Great Unclean one. 100%. Hi, Hilbert. Right. Okay. So we've gone through loading up the dampening pad. I'm going to have to reload that before we begin because it'll start drying out. I'm going to have to take my water off stream. Seeing my water pot isn't important for you. It's the dampening pad, really. Okay. This is Midnight. This is a wonderful color that we've got. What's the darkest blue that Games Workshop do? I think they have one that's like close-ish. You could also use Huldra Blue from scale 75, which is not an infrequently mentioned paint on the channel, although it won't be mentioned much anymore. All right. And maybe this will be easier to get hold of because I hear people have issues in the States. So we've taken out Midnight. I'm going to be putting them in lines on our palette. Take out Jade. It's a very good question, Capitan. You're buying access to the Pledge Manager. You can see estimated and also the maximum shipping that you would be charged on the Kickstarter page, though. And we're trying to be very reasonable with it. If you buy something like this that's very heavy, then we will charge more for it. But we're trying to be really reasonable with our global shipping. And this isn't our first Kickstarter, and this isn't our first heavy Kickstarter because we did the cabinets. So we've got really good long-term partners that we've used to make this stuff work out in the past. Hopefully that helped. Right, let's get rocking. I know, Tom. It's well, it's actually got some pluses. I will say this. Like, I like the fact that we can get other stuff at the back, and I can have some props there, whilst on a single screen, without showing me lit up like a streamer. Not that I think that's ever a risk. I say that, you never know. Right. Robin, we had issues with the scaling of the pieces, and that basically scuppered it completely, really sadly, because I think that would have been incredible. And also, if you look at what we were proposing with that, it was about 7 years, 5 years ahead of its time in the industry. You can see other companies doing stuff like that now with 3D printing. It was a fantastic idea, and it would have been really ahead of its time. Like most things we do, actually. I noticed that some brands have already tried making their painting handles more egg-shaped, but it's the price of being an innovator, I guess. That doesn't sound very modest, but I think people could agree that we've done a good job of designing products that people copy. Put it like that. All right, let's rock on. So I've mixed my two colors. They're only in the tip of my brush, and this stage is pretty simple. I'm just gonna stipple all over, like absolutely all over. I've got a cool blue base coat anyway, so we don't have to put down much with this. But primarily, the job of this, actually, I've got to make sure that I go over my edges because I want my edges to be protected. So just stipple, 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 stipple. You could smush this down as well. Smushing is like wiping it on, and I'm just making sure that I use the water to help the paint that I've got leave. Even if I move very fast, I'm loading only in the tip of the brush. I'm loading extremely gently and carefully. Do not mistake how fast I move. Like I have done this before a lot. Do not take how fast I move as a lack of caution on my part. You should be moving slower than me and being more cautious than I am, or I look. If anyone is able to go and load as carefully as me, I would be extremely impressed. I haven't found anyone yet who can load as precisely as me. And it makes a huge difference. It's how you unlock your dry brushes lasting forever, but also the higher quality work with your dry brushes. There is one problem with this piece, is that it doesn't have an obvious place to hold it. Great unclean ones are like puppets, they got a little hole in their bum. But this is not as easy to hold. See some questions popping up. Let me just finish the section that I'm on, and I'll get to your question. What I am going to do is I'm just going to hold my piece down, and this speeds things up. So the reason that I would want to protect my edges, in case anyone is interested, is that when we start dry brushing at the end, because we're beginning with stippling, dry brushing is quite physical, and I'm quite physical with my dry brushing, and we don't want to knock our edges off. And that can happen very easily if you've used, especially if you've used a satin primer, because they can kind of, it's a shiny surface, so you can knock through your comparatively less hardy, just normal painting on the edges. But also if you use a matte ones aren't as resilient, and you can scrape through to the matte one. So for both varieties of primer, you really need to protect your base, and in particular you need to protect your edges, and you do that by painting over your edges. So I'm going to turn it on its side, and I'll make sure that I've gone up to, including, and beyond the edges of my piece. Right, I'll get to your questions in a sec. I just want to scoot around, then I can leave this to dry. Not that it's going to take long, because it's quite a thin layer of paint. And in fact, I'm just going to cheat. I'm going to squidge my brush. All right, I imagine there's a few questions lined up now. That should be good timing. This is fine, by the way, squeezing your brush to make it smaller and more compact. It's way faster than reaching for a smaller brush. And I'm literally making my brush more resilient when I do this, so zero downsides. Oh. Okay. Right, we'll leave that to dry. We have some questions. Why the dry palette? What's the benefit over a wet palette? It's dry. That's its benefit. So this is impregnating my paints with water, and I want to be in control of my dilution. These are going to stay workable for a long time as well because they haven't had water added, and water makes evaporation happen faster. Will the new paints be able to handle non-metallic metal jobs? They absolutely will. We are going to do more grayscale colors in the future. There is a reason all the new dry brushes coming out look like Artis Opus ones. There is. I have to, personally, I find it really hard actually seeing them, but it's got easier over time. Unimaginative idiots. How dare they steal my idea? Hello from Newport, Kentucky. Hello back. Jim, it absolutely does. The use of a dry brush is completely different, and the cleaning is completely different. I won't ever involve water, so this one has never been dipped in water in its life, and this feels so smooth, like unbelievably smooth. I mean, you can see how clean it is. There's a little bit of discoloration right in the center, but let me show you the important thing now. So the important thing is that in your brushes you have a stop line. That is absolutely integral to doing this at a high quality. Good morning, Midnight Miniatures. Right, if you are going down further than 0.5 centimeter, 5 mil, you've loaded too heavily or you've loaded too wet or both. And by doing this, we keep damage at the tips, but also in use. I'm just going to clean that paint off by painting. I don't need to clean it off by cleaning. So that's the bit where I excel, is that my painting and my cleaning become the same thing when I work. Whereas for other people, they kind of screw their brushes up and then they have to clean them. And I'm just using them very happily and very fast. The brand name, it's the channel's name. It's Artis Opus. It's on my mug, but I can't show you my mug because I'll tip water everywhere. Yes, full, very good question. When you're using the tiny ones, you should shrink it too. But basically, you only need to load at the very tip. One thing I would say is it's much easier to get this right with a bigger brush. And you should be gravitating towards bigger brushes generally far more than you probably are. Everyone thinks you need a smaller brush to do smaller work. You don't, especially if you're... All right, we're going to start stippling now. Let me know if you got questions. Especially if you are... what am I looking to say? If you're looking to learn and to do high quality soft stippling that looks like airbrushing, then you should be using the biggest brush possible, but it's just so much easier to get dilution correct with the bigger brush, or it's much easier to get it wrong with a smaller brush. And by wrong, I mean like oversaturating it and killing them. Right, so my stippling's only going up and down. There's no dragging. I'll do something badly on purpose. That smear looks bad. We're trying to not do that. We just want dots. You have to go all the way up and all the way down. And I'm just going to keep on top of my water. And I can tell that by observing. So you can probably see the shine that's coming off my piece. So I can tell how much water is coming and how easily the paint is leaving. Very good question, Tom. You basically don't. You try and your aim is to put the right amount on the brush. And then I'm only doing a quick test, and unless it's really heavy, for me especially, then I just go straight to the model, because going up and down means that even if there is a bit too much, there isn't really a downside. Unless you've gone way too heavy. You know, I'm just putting down a lot of dots, and even if I'm too heavy now, in like a minute, once I've used up some of this paint, I won't be too heavy. Notice I'm not always going back for more paint, I'm going back for more water, and that's going to help the existing paint leave. See this pattern of dots? It's easy to see them, the color change. That is what we're going for. So the fact that my piece just has all these little spots on it, in that noise, all those imperfections, hundreds of them, thousands of them, that I'm putting down very, very fast, we are going to hide our blending and our color transitions and stuff like that. All right, so this won't look particularly amazing now, and that's important. I want you to note that it's fairly inconsistent. It's not perfectly smooth, but we have started, and we've started with like quite a cool foundation. So we're just going to continue. I'm going to reduce the amount of midnight that's in and increase the amount of jade. I'm just going to build it up. It's faster to work with your piece like not moving around at all on the table, and also if it's moving around less, particularly at the beginning, you're much less likely to get those smears rather than the dots. You want dots, not dashes. And you can probably hear it as well. You should have a sound to it. If your piece is wiggling around, you will get dashes rather than dots. And your stippling isn't stippling. It's bad stippling. Still being careful with taking of the paint, loading at the very tip of the brush, and then the water's just helping the paint leave. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I knew something was wrong. Any channel regulars can guess how we fix that. Non-toxic paint. Everything went wrong all at once there. See, mishaps happen, even for the experienced people. Who is this gay? This is a Necron Nightside's canopy. I'm not sure of his sexual orientation. And I'm not sure if he's even gendered. He's got a sticky out bit though. Who is this Ray? He looks kind of like a manta ray. I did absolutely lick it off. We didn't work on the taste, but they actually have quite a nice smell. That happened by accident. Right, I'm going to start doing some slightly more interesting stuff now. So I want there to be a lighting effect in the middle of these two sections. One of them is called chocolate, literally, and it's probably one of the best colors in the entire range. It's incredible. Right, so what I'm going to start doing now is I'm going to start trying to keep my stippling to the center of panels. I'd be working faster than this if it was just me, but there's a camera and I can't multitask and explain what I'm doing at the same time as doing it. So yeah, only up, only down. And the fact that our dry brush is domed means that I can stipple quite a small dot in quite a precise area, even though it's a big brush. All the way up, all the way down. That section's still got my lick on it, so we can't work there yet. But hopefully you can see that we're building up some pretty cool colors already. Literally cool because we started with a very deep blue, but also cool in terms of effect. All right, we'll just stipple through my lick. It'll be fine. As you can see, the technique is forgiving. All right, starting to build up a very cool Necron appropriate feeling to it now, and it goes really quick from this stage onwards. Last swig of coffee. Okay, so I'm really carefully adding our jade in now. I don't actually know if I'm going to need to go to spearmint. and I'm going to be checking more carefully how things are looking before I go to the model at this stage. When you're doing the base coat, you know, your base coat's your base coat, you know it's the right color, but there's a bit more of a... no, it would be very silly to do this with a small one because it'd take longer and it'd look worse and you'd abuse your brush more. Unless you're doing a small thing and you need to make very small stipples, like the circle of your stipple. But even if you're doing a Space Marine, I would suggest using a medium plus, which is a brush a size bigger than this. There's a comparison. It won't look the same with a makeup sponge, no. That's a very common misconception. Makeup sponges can do very good smooth effects, but we want dots, and you can't get dots out of a sponge. You get dots on the peripheries, on the edges, if you're using the sponge technique, but they're made to put down smooth, solid blocks that blend to something else at the edges. We're putting down hundreds of dots each time I stamp the model. And that is in particular exactly what we're looking for. That lets us build up things in a way that isn't smooth and therefore looks smooth, which I can explain if that's unclear. Let me show you my dots. You cannot do that with anything but a brush. You're closer to airbrush than sponge. Hey, don't bully JJ. It's a really common misconception. So a lot of people, I think, because of the way that people sell their videos, like it's an exchange. You can use a sponge to paint models, but you are painting them differently to this. Starting to build up a pretty cool effect. Good morning, Full Metal Monkey. How are you? So I've been talking quite a lot, but can you see how fast we've built up this? That is what dots unlock. There isn't a single other way apart from airbrush, and airbrush is smoother, which I don't prefer necessarily for this type of technique at least. This looks like both machine and... Uh-oh, we have a fluff. This looks like both organic and inorganic, which is why it works so well for Necrons or Eldar, because the material looks that bit more alive. I guess it's like your inorganic thing was made of stone or something like that, which is about as futuristic as you can get in terms of vibe. Tap, tap, tap. And we're just building it up. You can do this, the ways that you can build up your color are just with repetition and go slower and smoother, or you can jump up in color and strength of the paint and stuff like that. We're going to do a combination of both, but if you want to go mega subtle, you can just stick with the same color and build it and build it and build it, and you get a really soft overall effect. Full effect, you don't have to worry about it because the metallics just stay at the top. So it's just not an issue. No, metallic's fine. I answer this question a lot. It's completely fine. Like we never, ever in our brush's life get anything down to here. So you don't have to worry about what type of paint you're using. Like our brush care is done during use rather than afterwards. And because of that one simple reason, you just don't, it doesn't matter at all. Like you don't have to worry about any of that stuff whatsoever. Okay, so these little bars at the top of this section are a micro version of what it's quite easy to do. Carlos Fernandez, exactly. Yeah, you should absolutely, Robin. You should just find a bit of something that you don't care about. Right, little tip. You want a lot of fine hairs. There you go. So that's what we're going for. Like count that. How many other techniques can put down whatever that is, like 100? I don't know. I hazard a guess, like 120 dots. Guesses in the chat. How many bristle dots are we capable of putting down each time with that brush? So I'm trying to get around everywhere, including the edges. We do have a way to go back and darken details, which we can do before we finish. Oh, fluff. I should have, if you're using a dry palette, one of the things you need to not forget to do, which I have, is to just wipe them with like a microfiber cloth, something that won't leave fluff behind, not a paper towel, please, in the mornings before you use them, because dust can collect on them. Look at this. It looks like underwater vibes now. I've just removed chalk. Can you explain that question, please, full effect? Sorry for everyone that had to deal with that in the morning or evening, wherever you're at. I don't think he's representative of Australia if he was from Australia. Every country's got them. Sorry, guys. I guess he was Australian if he's got a shark in his username. We can stereotype now he's left. Oh, okay. All good. The only reason I hadn't done it sooner is I've never done it before, therefore I didn't know how to do it. But I will give YouTube credit where it's due, because a lot of their stuff is very unintuitive. That was an easy process. Tap on name, scroll down, mute for 24 hours. I don't know how to perma-ban them, but yeah. Could have been more tricky. All right, we have got a very smooth result appearing here. Can people appreciate this from I don't know how well it's showing up. It's always hard. Oh well, we're all in the same boat now. He could still be watching. I don't know. I only muted. Too much for me to deal with in the morning, buddy. I've only had one coffee. If you are still here. Right. Just build, 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 build. And what I'm doing now is, because what I've got on my brush is heavily diluted with water, it's very soft. I'm stippling a glaze at the moment, and that means anywhere that's a bit rough, I can, if I've got a line here and here, I can stipple over the gap and it'll soften the effect. What have I missed? You've got a chaosified Nighthaunt with the purple Screamer Pink fade airbrushed, but the pauldrons aren't faded. The upper plate is purple, the lower Screamer, it looks fine but very plain. You could stipple between them. That would be a great idea. Architect of Paint, happy. Yeah, I would, Full Metal Monkey. Practice elsewhere, same situation, same colors, and then use that very same brush. Don't, I'm just so used to swearing when I'm at shows. Don't screw about. Like, set your brush up well, test it somewhere, And then the moment your brush is going okay, like it did on my finger, you go straight to your model and you dry brush with, you stipple with confidence. You need to get that up-down thing. That's really important. And you can use dilution like I am here. And then what you'll be doing is, I'll show you this. See the reflection of the water there? There's not much paint in that. It's mostly water. So what I'm stippling is extremely subtle. And if you do that, then if you make a mistake, you're only making like 20% of a mistake. And it's stacking all of those semi-transparent layers on top of each other. That is what will give you the cool effect. Hopefully that answers the question. Right. So we're not making as much of a difference as we were, but what we have looks pretty smooth. I'm just going to do what is a very sensible thing to do and turn this round, because very often when you're doing this technique, for one reason or another, often because it's literally hard to reach, like your thumb's in the way or something, you will have missed an area or two. So I'm just checking now. Final pass. Here, because I've been holding it there. So I actually need to go back and get some less dilute paint. And luckily it's not too large a section. I just need to catch that up to the rest of it and hide my thumbprint, obviously. Middle here too. I painted these bits a few times and I always miss the same areas, so the final pass is something you're always rewarded for. It's really annoying to move on. Like I've only taken a few more seconds here and I fixed something that would be harder to fix later. Ruth, thank you very much. So I'm not trying to be condescending here, by the way. I'm aware how it can come across. Why do I need to clean the base of this brush? Thank you, Fartmongler. Absolutely. Yeah, I very much enjoy going over to the States. We do a couple of shows a year, and I've done Adepticon for 8 years now. So big love to you and your country. So I don't get paint down to the base, so I don't need to clean the base. All right, Ruth, you're loading too heavily. Everyone but me loads too heavily. So you only load vertically. The problem is when you load this brush, you tip to the side often, because you do. This brush and this brush are different. So with this brush, you load and you make your paint into lines, blobs, and you very carefully drag away. Let me zoom for this. All right, this paint here, this blob, I very carefully touch and take it to the side. Now there's a smear here. In that smear, I do a little circle without tipping around, little circle, and then my brush is ready to go. The sleeves of a lot of my clothes are multicolored, and the trousers, the thighs of my trousers, and generally I'm a painty man. Just generally. So my bristles aren't sticking together because I've not put enough paint there to cement them. Look at that. If you've got clumping, if you have lines are just bad in what we're doing. If you have lines rather than dots, you loaded too heavily. Ruth, I'll give you a tip. You're going to see my head appear, probably. Do this. I don't know if my head appeared in shot there. When you're learning, get down super close and observe like this. You can even tip your palette up. I can't do it because my streaming setup, but you need to really carefully be getting the best information about what you're doing. Don't guess whether it's going okay because you'll screw up. This is you and everyone in the world has this problem, by the way, so don't feel bad or frustrated. It's just a matter of getting a bit more in practice. Think about the first time you learnt to drive a car and you used the brake and the accelerator. I'm sure you didn't use them perfectly. And then over time, you get a bit more subtle. You learn to put your heel down on the floor and anchor from it. Whatever it is, this is that. It's just a new thing. And forget anything you know about normal brushing, because this is not normal brushing. Big tip there. Huge tip. All right. This looks smooth as hell. Probably because I've been talking. Par check it is. Simple answer. Also, don't use ultra matte paints. Like a huge Hyosora, do not use ultra matte paints and do not use a matte primer because you will make your model rough and absorbent, and you do not want an absorbent model. Same reason this is primed Chaos Black, and same reason that you should prime this rather than using it when it's just plain wood. Okay, I need to get about a bit more jade. Oh, hello. Alpha. It's been a good while. You doing okay? Channel regular in the chat. When loading like that, you drag them into each other. I will tell you what, I'll show you now. I'm going to zoom in. Please like scream out in the chat if this is not in focus or something, because I'd rather it was small and in focus than large and out. Hi, Jason. Right. Paint number 1 in a line. Paint number 2 in a line. This one's dried out a little bit, so it might behave badly. We carefully, just the tip. You see how controlled that was? We drag this up at 45 degrees. We drag this out at 45 degrees. This is another reason for the line. And I mix here. Does that help? Thank you, Twisted Nerves. Did you back the Kickstarter? Big love. Okay, sweet. I hope that helped. That's what you do. I could show it on paper if it would be clearer. I'm happy to do that. Priming the palette, just holding onto it until it's all black. I would prime it 3 times with Chaos Black until it repels water. So when you put water along it like this, the water should bead really fast into beads. This is our paint brand. This is Mini Color. This has gone off shot because I zoomed in. That's the brand. You can still back our Kickstarter. Late pledges are still available now. Hey, thank you, Alpha. Well, it's a pleasure having you here, and I appreciate your years of support on the channel. Very much so. Right, we got to be careful now. So I've started using spearmint, and this is definitely a lighter color. So we want to be really careful. It dries smooth. Okay, I'm going to pinch out now because I want people to be able to see what I'm doing. But if you want me to go close up again, just let me know. Okay. Right, so we test, and I'm going to go somewhere that's going to end up really light anyway. Ooh, it's a bit scary. This is why we test, right? Now, the more that I mix my brush, the more the new color is going to mix with the previous color in the brush. So I don't need to go and get more of this. Just agitating it around. I'm not pushing it in. That's a common misconception. Jim and Robin both asking the TM follow-up question. All right. This is quite scary. I'm just going to use more dilution, I think. Take a tiny bit more of the paint, go elsewhere on the palette. You clean on the palette like this. I will show you, if you guys are here at the end, I'll do some cleaning on this brush and I'll show you a couple of tricks. I can't show you now because it involves resetting the brush, which I don't want to do because the brush is in a really good spot. Look at that. Perfect. Guilo, use a varnish first. Nope, this is an Artis Opus dry brushing brush that I designed, that the industry now regards as a standard for dry brushing because people copy them. Right, I'm going to carefully and I mean carefully. See that reflection there? We're going to start going in the very center of these panels. Only up, only down. Silence. You can't hear me going anymore because I'm going so gently. But the paint's quite strong, so I don't need much to make a bit of a difference. You see what we're starting to add here? No worries, full metal. Look after yourself. Yeah, I understand. I'll show you at the end. To clarify, you are talking about a dry brush, correct? It's starting to show up now. It's looking pretty cool. Yes, they are, Johnny the Kid. They are the best. I designed the tool that I wanted to exist in the industry that didn't exist, and other people copied it without, generally speaking, without understanding the technique. If you can find someone who's better than me at stippling, who isn't the guy that inspired me, Bohun, he uses our brushes, then point me in their direction. It's not any other type of painting that I can claim to be that competent in, but I've definitely dry brushed and stippled, I reckon, for more hours than anyone in the world, in this industry at least. I've done my 10,000 hours and then some. Johnny, I don't know how to post links in this, which is incredibly irritating to me. If you go to the Artis Opus website, you can buy them there, and it's the Series D set. I'd recommend you pick up the Series D Plus set and a texture palette. The Plus set comes with the sponge that I'm using a lot. All of the little bamboo lidded pots in our dry brush set, so the dampening pad, and that's everything you need. And then you just prime your palette Chaos Black and you go. And you enjoy, because it's a wonderful technique. All right, so my brush is a little bit more subtle than it was now. I've used up some of the paint, so I can go faster and looser. You only do that when it's a good idea to do it. So don't plow in, one tool in the shed and it's a hammer or a chainsaw and ruin your model. Push on when your brush tells you that you're not going to screw up by doing so. Now you can hear it too, hopefully. Let's see. Thank you, Johnny the Kid. That's very kind. I appreciate it. They'll last for forever. I was showing before the stream started. This is one that's a couple of years old. They'll wear light shoes if you treat them right like this. Appreciate your support. Did making the brush ignite your enjoyment for painting further? It did, Parcheck. So I was using different brushes. I just felt like there was more to the technique than I was able to achieve with the tools that I had. So I spent 5 years and I designed these. Mostly it was finding the shape and the density and the correct hair. I went through 15 iterations of hair, including blends, which turned out to be a bad idea, and synthetics, which was just not doable. Some things come close-ish, but over time, after about 3 months, they really, which is why it took so long, because you've got to use the hell out of something to test it properly, and we use the hell out of everything that we make before releasing it. Just didn't find anything that behaved the same. All right, let's have a little look. How dense is the pigment to the paint? Dense where it needs it, and it's not the density of pigments. I get that, the question that you're asking, but you're asking it in a way that the industry's made normal but is not correct. So it's not about density of pigments, it's about how strong the paint is. This one has loads of pigments in, but the pigments aren't strong. And this one has less pigments in, but the pigments are strong. And this one behaves like there's more pigments in it in terms of what you're asking. So our paints that have got more white in will behave more strongly. And that's why you're enjoying the Army Painter ones, because a lot of their paints have got white or grey in them. That makes them cover better. And for us, what we've done is colors that we want to be super strong, like this, are, and colors that we don't want to be strong to make blending easier and base coating smoother. They're a bit smoother. Johnny said there's a 2.0 version of what, please? Dominic, that is such a good question and such a hard question to answer correctly. It depends on the model. Like very often it's a good idea to paint a cloak separately, but some things is like it's just a personal preference thing. Like you might want to leave the wings off your dragon separately for starting the painting, then glue them on and hide the gaps and finish them highlighting, but it's really hard to answer it in like a all-round sense because personal preference comes into it too. I was talking with professional painters the other day and asking them the same question, and they said everyone in our team does it differently. And these are very professional painters. They're like, well, it was the Games Workshop heavy metal painters, so literally the industry is peak pros. Well, if you can just get one and the sponge and see if it's for you. Yeah, I often do a light glue on parts that I think I might want to remove later, prime, and then I use where the primer did or didn't reach to help me know what I do and don't have to paint, but also to keep paint off the areas that are going to need to be glued, snap them apart, and then glue them back together at the end and fix any gaps, because normally there are a couple of gaps in terms of where the paint's reached. All right, we have done a very smooth, lovely job. It's looking pretty cool. And I think I'm probably going to leave it there. We can resume this a future date. If anyone has any final questions, please do let me know. If I knew how to put links in the chat, I'd link the Paint Kickstarter now and I'd link our website for our brushes, but YouTube is so much less intuitive than Instagram Live. It is unbelievable. At least you can mute people easily, as we enjoyed earlier. I'm an army painter at heart, buddy. Absolutely, I am. This was painted specifically. He looks a bit mental on camera because there's a lot of white in the highlights, but let me show you why. So I painted him in a fashion that I developed for making armies look good in any light, and even with my lights off or yellow light, he still looks amazing. So yeah, I'm definitely an army painter. I've got an ogre army in cabinets to my left. They're not turned on currently, but some of my ogres. This unit looks amazing together. The BSB and the standard go in the same like 3x3 unit, and it just looks like an illustration. It's a very messy rabble of ogres. It looks wonderful. Yeah, he does look a bit tinchy, doesn't he? Jim, there absolutely is. I could have just done the same, but with slightly more paint on the brush and slightly less water, and it would have looked less subtle but more punchy. And it would be wait there. I mean, this one's a bit more extreme, especially if you compare the middle sections. This one's also finished. Thank you. Let me I'll bring it onto camera under proper light. So this is a custom banner that's made of a mixture of green stuff and milliput and has literal stitches put through it, by the way. That took a while. Then they're soaked in super glue. It didn't quite work, but it was a cool thing to try. And then it's been airbrushed and glazed. I've kind of poked. I was going to put stitches here, but it was too much. And it's on just cocktail sticks. That actually still moves. That is an elastic band. And I then just put super glue all over it. Hi, Joyce. And let me find the other one, because I think the other one's probably the best. This is just a wonderful piece of wood, by the way, that just about fitted on the base. I'm so glad that their base sizes didn't change. I'm using these for Old World now. Here's the other one. And again, that's a little bit of a mixture of airbrush and glaze. Thank you, Dominic. Less than you'd think for the painting, for the flags especially, because we've done this. So in mini color, let me bring you out. I should get out my notebook actually. So we have, this is chili. These look similar on camera, but hopefully you can tell the difference. I will show you the cleaning of the dry brush as well, don't let me forget. So this is chili, and this is cardinal, which I haven't done the lids on properly. Bad. This is it's a very high coverage, extremely warm red. This is a bit cooler. It's got some white in it. You can actually see there from where the paint's separated, because I've not shaken it, little bits of white showing up. So this has got insane coverage, like absolutely crazy. Do I have an example? I do. So I've been painting patches on my ogre's bums, and the quickest way for me to do it is to just put down a bit of cardinal because it is so bright, and then paint another red over it. And by having access to these really strong but still very colorful reds, you can quickly put some stuff down, and it'll do a lot very quick, even over black. And that's part of what speeds it up. And then the shapes on them are just, they're done with white mixed with heavy coverage paint that's more like stone or ivory colored. And because it's ogres and it's not meant to be neat, that's the single most forgiving thing about it. It just really speeds it up. I should really shade these to match the shading of the flag because they look a bit wrong. So that's probably something that I'll do. Yellow, this type of yellow. Yeah, pink is a very good way. Let me show you an equivalent color. So something like this is our peach. We've got a salmony colored one as well. You just paint that underneath. What I painted underneath this though was, well, you can see the color, the brown. No, from sitting down too much on old trousers. Although with an ogre's diet, it could well be that too. So I've mixed these two, and that was the starting point for this color. It's about starting from the right one. This is an extremely dirty yellow. This is our yellow. I'm not insulting our paints or other people's, but you know, this is the combination. This mixed with this to start, add this to this for highlights, and then I just used a little bit of this one for edge highlights at the end. All right, we're going to wind it up there. It's been very nice. I hope the rest of you have a lovely day. Do you have any questions? Jason, I don't, but it's generally in the morning. UK, I start between 8 and 9. So if you hit the bell notification, subscribe to us. If I presume you are already, as you're here, but hit the bell notification and you should be notified. Right. These are our paints. These are mini color. Great Unclean one is covering the branding currently, but these are paints that we designed, and you can still back them. You can late pledge for them now if you want to get the Kickstarter initial price. Thank you for reminding me about cleaning. Right, let me get a piece of paper. Okay, so I'm going to show you. If I'm doing normal dry brushing, this is the best way to clean your brush. Okay, the white, you can just do it on the palette. The white paper is just showing things up more clearly. The micro textures that you build up that are soft, not aggressive on your brush is a really good way to help the paint leave. And then you just use a little bit of water. You do not dip your brush in water. I've put a drop of water in my dampening pad, and we're gonna go until color stops leaving. Now, because we didn't put paint inside the brush, we're just cleaning the top of the brush, and this is what makes it easy. Okay, if you have saturated your brush, you still do exactly the same thing. This morning we were a bit deeper, so I think our coffee was kind of cappuccino mixed with russet. I think that's kind of where we ended up this morning. Maybe Jasper. It was a really cool color this morning. I appreciate the question. So you just, however screwed, knackered, effed up your brush is, you do this. And think of your brush as a square. Up, down, left, right. If hairs come out, it doesn't matter. We always get that question. That's natural. That's fine. Unless your brush feels bare, you don't have a problem. And mine's 2 years old, so it's not a problem. So up, down, left, right. When you clean, you're going to clean left and right always, because no one cleans like this. So what you need to do is turn your brush 90 degrees to make sure that you clean what was your up, down. Does that make sense? So we keep going now. Hopefully you've noticed that the drifts I had at the side are gone. I will use some soap as well. I can't find my soap. Give me a second. To my left is exactly the type of mess that I'm sure you guys can imagine, but I'm not going to show you. I've got a soap. I've got a soap. Excellent. Right. The soap that comes in our sets, every single set we sell has soap in it. This is quite a well-used one. You use the soap. Is this? It's on camera. Okay. A little bit of water. No more than we were using. Little bit of water, and then agitate your brush around in it. The soap's got a conditioner in it, so one of the main reasons to use the soap is if your bristles feel dry or scrapey, they don't feel soft. And then you do exactly what I was just doing. The soap's going to help. Oh no, I actually went into my paint. That's the opposite of cleaning. The soap is both going to help the paint leave and keep things soft, right? We are now at a stage where I'd be happy to stop. You're not going for a clean looking brush, you're going for a clean feeling brush. So it's how the bristles feel, and not that you can appreciate this, but they feel soft. They are also, they're not clumping at all. Lots of fine little dots. Ruth, you're a bad lady. Good morning, Chris, over behind under. Man who's responsible for this is in the chat. Very excited to get mine with fixing so I can put it on the wall behind me. It's going to look amazing. I also realized I'm going to be able to balance a tablet or a phone on top of it, which I'm very excited about. Yes, they will be available in the States. And we would like to bring them to AdeptCon as well. It's going to require we do everything very fast, but we're trying our best. Okay, so my brush feels smooth. That means it's good. And that is that. Are there any final questions before I shoot off? You can see how much paint's come off, by the way. Let me pinch out. So, you know, I got a fair bit of paint off, and it's very easy to tell if the paint is coming off on a white piece of paper. See, I'm struggling to get color off now on a white piece of paper, so it's really easy to tell that I've got far enough. Moritz, I have started streaming more regularly recently while we've had the paint Kickstarter and I've enjoyed it. So it's a good way to start off the day. Normally it will be around this time. I've been showing wet blending recently with the same colors that we use for the dry brushing. So if you're interested in watching anything else, there's the previous streams for that up, and we have been doing that on this gentleman. Whoa, lots of questions coming at once. I'll try and keep up. What do you mean Kickstarter update? Oh, you're just saying thank you. Well, that's very kind. Jim, it doesn't matter what you do to a cheap makeup brush, but still clean it before you start. They're not the same though. They have thick synthetic bristles with big gaps between them. So if you struggle, it's not you, it's it. All right then. You were just all saying nice things, they're not questions. I'm going to shoot off. Thank you very much for joining. Tell you what I'll do. I'm going to plug in my cabinet and I'll show you my army in full glory because it seemed that a few of you were interested in it. All right. Sorry. More multitasking than I'm capable of. Don't fall off, Fire Belly. Thank you. Stand up and I'll give you a proper view of some of the units. I had a leader. I need to put my leader back on. His Thunder Tusk. Steve, absolutely we're aiming for sooner than May. That's the aim. I need to dust off the outside of those. I've been away for a bit. All right, and then we've got alternate head, cannon, banner. So I varnished that one and I don't think it was a good idea. It's also in black and the white just stands out more. I've got to replace some missing gut plates. Yeah, he does have a few different head options. I've got some separately somewhere. I can't remember where. And here's some more of them. These guys look great. I removed their big goofy tusks. I also took off their big saddles, so they're sat down lower. They look a lot more aggressive. All right then. Thank you very much for joining. If you're interested in the cabinets, we sell those as well. Have a lovely day, people. Look after yourselves. No worries. Bye.